We are live. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, November 28th, Black Friday. And a happy Thanksgiving to all my American friends who are tuning in. Hopefully you had a good day yesterday. And we're going to kick it off now today with a Black Friday Ask Lee video Q&A. And this is something that I do every Friday. I do a live Q&A here on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. We're also streaming simultaneously through the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. So as you're popping onto our live stream here today, please feel free to introduce yourself. And if there are any questions or topics of discussion that you would like to discuss, feel free to type those into our chat window there or into the comment section, depending on the platform that you are watching from. Right? If you're watching over on YouTube, there's going to be the video chat alongside this video. And if you're joining us through Facebook, you can chime in through the comment section below the video. All right. So just wait for a few people to pop on board here now with our live stream. And as you're popping on, please let me know if this is coming through loud and clear, if you can hear me and see me and all that good stuff. I always want to double check that the audio and the video is coming through where it is a live stream. So let's see. We've got Lee joining in. Lee's a regular to our chats. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate that. Says it is coming through loud and clear. Awesome. Glad it. We have AJ joining in. You are live. Didn't know if you'd be since it was American Thanksgiving. I know you're Canadian, though. Yeah, we had our Thanksgiving last month. Back in October, we have Thanksgiving here in Canada, but it is not Thanksgiving Day. That was yesterday, right? So the thanks have been given, and we're moving on. Now the Friday is black, put it that way. And just curious, has anybody gotten any good Black Friday deals today? Right? Have you been out doing the Black Friday shopping stuff? Right? Because I know that is a big thing, of course. It's one of the biggest sales of the year, the whole Black Friday thing. And seeing we're on the topic of Black Friday, I should mention that we have a special promo going on now for Black Friday as well, with a fat loss accelerator program to help you kick off the new year on the right track. And if that is something you're interested in and you want to learn more about that, you can certainly drop me an email or drop me a private message through Facebook. Just send me the words Black Friday and I'll send you all the details about that. And I have some posts about it posted up there on my Facebook page as well. So if you're following me over on Facebook, just check out my Facebook profile, scroll through the main feed there, and you can see some posts about the Black Friday promo with the fat loss accelerator that we're going to be kicking off now in the new year. All right, so we're just waiting for some people to pop onto our live stream here now. See Deals joining in. Welcome. We'll be jumping into your Q&A there very shortly. One question that came through, this was actually submitted in advance. I'm just going to share that just a second now, because that's one of the options. If you are a regular to our chat and you know you may not be able to make the live stream, you can certainly send in your questions in advance. You can either private message me them or email me them, and I'll do the best I can to help you out during the video chat. So we've got a question here coming in from Rocco, and he says, Lee, if you only had 2 days a week to do a full body workout, what exercises would you do? He says, I have limited time with family commitments and would appreciate the advice. So I'm a big fan and hope you're doing well. Thanks, from Rocco. All right, so that's a great question. And this is something that I can certainly relate to because, you know, time is a limited resource, especially when you got a lot on your plate. You know, if you're raising a family, you're working full time, you've got a lot of things on your plate. You probably just don't have, you know, hours a day to just go to the gym and do whatever you want. I mean, it's great if you can do that, but a lot of people don't have that luxury, and you have to be very efficient with your workouts. And a lot of my personal coaching students that I'm working with, like a lot of my in-person coaching students that I train, you know, doing one-on-one in-person personal training sessions at the gym, and even some of my online coaching students are literally doing just that. They're doing 2 weight training workouts per week because that's what fits their schedule. And again, family men, working professionals, they got a lot of things, and like it's not just taking care of themselves, but they got to take care of the family. Their kids are in sports and activities and all kinds of stuff. So to find 2 days a week to go to the gym, I mean that's pretty much stretching their schedule as it is, but they're still making it work. They're still making progress. And this is where total body workouts can really have an edge, because each time you go to the gym, you're providing a little bit of stimulation for all your major muscle groups, and then you're allowing them to rest, recover, and grow before hitting them again. So you're still able to train twice a week, hit all your major muscle groups twice a week, and make progress. And the good thing about having an infrequent schedule like that is overtraining is usually not going to be an issue. And not just from a muscle building and recovery point of view, but also from the joints, tendons, and ligaments. Because as you get older, like especially for guys in their 40s and beyond, what you'll often find is the joints and the tendons and the ligaments need more time to recover. The muscles may fully recover, but sometimes you might get that lingering aches and pains, like, oh man, my shoulders are killing me, or my elbows are bothering me, or I got achy knees and stuff like that. When you allow adequate rest and recovery between those workouts, you give the joints, tendons, and ligaments time to recover, and it allows you to actually make better progress. So if you are going to do that, ideally, I would recommend having those workouts spaced out throughout the week. I mean, a minimum of a day of rest in between, but ideally have a couple of days of rest in between. Like say you're doing a Monday and a Friday or something like that, or a Monday and a Thursday. Just space it out so that you're train the body, and then you give it a couple days to rest, recover, and grow, and then go in there and train it again. And as far as the exercises, this is going to depend on your fitness level, your available exercise equipment, stuff like that. But the key pattern that I would like you to focus on is think of the different movement patterns of the body. So one that I'd like to take, like a lot of my personal coaching students through, we focus on hitting all the major movement patterns. So like an overhead press, an overhead pull, a horizontal press, a horizontal pull, some sort of squat or leg press type movement. Then we're going to do some work for the core, maybe like a bicep curl, tricep extension, and throw in some calf work. And the thing is you don't need to do all this in a single session, right? Like you can kind of break it up a little bit, but the ones that I would do in each session, like a overhead press, overhead pull, horizontal press, horizontal pull, and a squat or a leg press, something along those, or a hip hinge type movement. It could be like a deadlift movement as well, something along those lines. That's your foundation. That's the stuff that's going to be the meat and potatoes, right? That's going to cover most of your major muscle groups with those movement patterns. The accessory stuff, like the arm work, abdominals, calves, things like that, these are kind of like wild cards. And maybe like one workout will specialize on getting in some arm work, another workout we might do a bit of calf and abs, something like that. But the main ones that I would focus on, getting in your press, pull, overhead pull, squat, leg press, or a hip hinge. Get that in there. That's the ones that I would do on a regular basis, because that's what's going to mean the making progress. And that's the ones that I would really focus on training in a progressive overload fashion with. So when you're doing those exercises, strive to make some get tongue tied, some form of noticeable progress every single week, whether it's getting an extra repetition, adding a little bit of weight to the bar, something like that. Those are the exercises you want to prioritize. And if you're giving yourself lots of rest and recovery time, you can generally make solid progress with those movements. And if you do find that you hit a plateau with a particular movement, like let's just say you're doing a chest press machine, maybe like a hammer strength chest press or something like that. That's your main horizontal press. If you hit a plateau with that, change it up. Do another chest press variation, or a barbell bench press, or a dumbbell bench press. Even different push-up or dip variations. That would cover the bill there. But you can change up the movement pattern, but focus on that, or change up the exercise, but still focus on the movement pattern. That's what I'm saying there. Same when it comes to training legs, for example. Like one workout could be a squat, it could be a leg press, it could be a pendulum squat machine, whatever you have available at your gym. You can vary it up, but focus on the movement pattern. And it'd be a good idea too to either have a training app where you're logging this. And for our coaching students, we actually do have a custom training app where they can keep track of their workouts, keep track of, the exercises, sets, and reps, so that they know going into their workout what it is they have to do and what it is they're trying to improve upon. But you can even kick it old school with just like a notebook and a and a pen, right? Sometimes I do that as well, especially when I'm working with people one-on-one in the gym, right? We're kicking it old school, pen and paper, and literally just writing down those exercises and keeping a log. And then each time you go in there, try and see some sort of measurable progress, right? Whether it is an extra rep, extra 5 pounds, adding extra volume, something along those lines. I mean, as long as you're making steady progress over the long term, you're making progress. And, realize it's not going to happen every single workout. Like some days you're going to have more energy than others, right? But over time, you want to see those numbers going up. And as long as those numbers are going up and you're consistent, then you can still make great progress, even if you're only hitting the gym twice a week, right? So again, that was a great question, and certainly something that I'm sure a lot of people could probably relate to, especially now as we're moving into the holiday season. You got a lot of things on your schedule. Maybe you can only make time for 2 workouts a week. And if you want a sample of what you can actually follow, I have some sample total body workouts up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, right, that you can go check out. I mean, you can go search for them yourself, or if you would like some help with planning out a specific program for you and your situation, again, drop me an email or drop me a private message over on Facebook, and we can certainly chat about it. All right, who else we got joining in? Let's see. I see Adil's joining. He's a regular to our chats as well. What's your food budget, and can you eat optimally for cheap? My food budget. I honestly, I'm not one of these people who, okay, I've got $299 to spend on food this week, and I got to stay within that budget. But it's usually around the same thing. But what I find happens with the food budget, and I bet a lot of people can relate to this. I go to the grocery store, and I'm usually buying the same type of foods over and over again, like same core stuff goes in the shopping cart. But it seems like every single week the bill is going up and up and up. Like the food in the cart's not changing. It's the same basic stuff week after week, but the bill is going up and up and up and up and up, right? So it's I understand where you're coming from here. How can you eat well without breaking the bank? And that is becoming more and more of a challenge for sure. One thing that I do, I'll just share some of my strategies, if you will, for trying to get the most bang for my buck when it comes to grocery shopping. I do have a Costco membership, and I take advantage of that because I find for a lot of stuff, especially like your meats and your veggies and stuff like that, they tend to have some really good value on there. Like chicken and beef, fish, the veggies. I mentioned that. I get a lot of that. I buy that stuff from Costco. Even like the dairy products, like the Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. Generally speaking, you can get that for a lot cheaper than the grocery store. All right. So I'll very often go, and that's where I'll get the bulk of that stuff. Another place where I get a lot of stuff too as well, Walmart. I've shopped around, and I find like for a lot of stuff, especially if you're getting like what's some examples, like canned food, like if you're getting canned vegetables or canned beans or canned legumes or anything like that, I find like stuff like that, Walmart tends to have some of the best prices, right, for things of that nature. Oatmeal and stuff like that, I sometimes get it at Costco, buy it in bulk, but Costco's kind of limited with their selection. But I've shopped around at the local grocery stores and shopped around at Walmart, and more often than not, Walmart's actually cheaper than a lot of the grocery stores, right? So I'll go there. That's usually my 2 main food shopping hubs these days, Walmart and Costco, between the 2 of them. And I kind of like, you got to figure it out and actually break out the calculator, right? Or break out your phone and get the calculator app and crunch the numbers. Because one thing I have noticed is, even though you can get some good deals at Costco, it's not always a good deal because sometimes they'll trick you on the buying the bulk. Like I remember a few weeks ago, my wife, she wanted to get some like kidney beans and stuff like that we use for like making chili and tomato sauce and stuff like that. And she said, "Oh, I'll just buy big old case of kidney beans at Costco, and I'll buy a big old case of the tomato sauce and stuff like that we're going to use for making like homemade chili." And when we actually worked it out, it would have been cheaper to buy it individually, like per can at Walmart, than it was to buy the freaking case of it at Costco. So you got to be careful, right? It's not always more is cheaper or more is better, right? It's not. You got to actually crunch the numbers and do the math, because sometimes you can actually get better value. But that's what I do, and I find like that helps a lot. Another place you can sometimes get some good stuff. Again, you got to shop around, but like sometimes even some of the dollar stores, right, can have some good stuff. But again, you got to work out the per serving, per value options, because the dollar store plays the opposite thing. Like they'll sell these little tiny servings really cheap, but if you work it out on a per serving or per gram basis, it's probably not as cheap as buying it in larger quantities at the other stores or at the grocery store. But again, you got to kind of shop around and see what's available in your local area. Checking out farmers markets as well is another good stuff. Local shops, like another one that I do now. Checking out the local bakery. Like if we're buying bread, for example, the local bakery actually sells bread cheaper than they do at the grocery store, right? Right. Like for example, like we can get 2 loaves of fresh homemade or homemade style bread from the bakery. What they have, it was 2 for $5, and whereas at the grocery store and stuff, they're usually selling them for like $3 or $4 a loaf. So it actually worked out cheaper to get it locally. So sometimes local vegetables, local meats. Like if you check around, see like local farmers markets or whatever, sometimes you can get some good value there as well. Right. But it really just comes down to having to be savvy and seeing what's available for your area, right? Just not taking it on blind, just going and buying it all in one place. Like you really got to be savvy and shop around and see what's best value for you and your situation and where you're living. But that is a challenge for sure, right? One of the biggest things I'm going to say here that's going to cut down on the food budget, and then we'll move on. Make most of your own food. Like this is something like a lot of people talk about, oh, it's expensive to eat, and then they're going out for fast food. The minute you go out to a restaurant to eat, even if it's a fast food restaurant, the volume of food you get and the price you're paying for it's not in your favor. So buying your own food, learning to cook, learning to make your own meals, that is going to be the biggest budget saver by far, right? Not just giving into, oh, I'm going to go buy my lunch at the fast food place, or the special of the day at the cafeteria, whatever, because more often than not you're going to be paying way more that way. So learn to make your own food and get good at meal prep and packing and stuff like that, and that's probably going to be the biggest budget saver right there. All right. So if anybody can relate to that, feel free to chime in the comment section. But, if you have any tips you want to share, feel free to chime in if you have anything else you'd like to add to that. Another one there. Would you say you eat more for function over taste, and how do you balance the two? There's a combination. I mean, obviously, one that I like to focus on primarily is actually the nourishment side of things, like not just the taste side, but you can make healthy food taste good as well. And one thing you're going to find is as you start eating more natural, unprocessed whole foods, you're going to start to crave more natural, unprocessed whole foods. But it is a bit of a transition, especially for someone who's used to eating for taste. And when I say eating for taste, you're just, the junk food, the fast food, the whatever. Like you have no idea, or you don't even care like what's getting your protein, carbs, fat, and meeting your macros. It's just, hey, I just want to eat it because it tastes good. Right? I don't care about the nutritional value. So making that transition to focusing on the nutritional value, I mean, and that's, I would say, is my number one priority, is the nutritional value. And then the secondary is making that taste as good as I can. So I'm meeting my nutritional needs and still enjoying it. That's the way I focus on it. And I think you talk to pretty much anybody who's in shape or health conscious, they probably have a similar answer. The nutritional value is priority number one. the taste is going to be priority number 2. Now, with that being said, sometimes you'll want to go out for a meal or a treat or eat something simply because you enjoy it. But that is the exception, not the rule. Like that's 10 or 20% of the time at most, whereas 80+% of the time you're eating primarily for the nutritional value and not just because it tastes good. That's pretty standard, I think, in most fitness, nutrition, health and fitness, nutrition related programs. Got Danny joining in saying, should strength days have a different activity goals than cardio days? Can I focus on lifting without tracking steps? Is 3 full body sessions plus 2 to 3 high step days a good balance, or would you adjust? Yes. Okay. That's a good question. I think I'm picking up what you're laying down there. Obviously, yes, strength and cardio are totally different activities and they should have different goals. I usually don't do the step tracking personally. I'm just going to hide your question there because it's hiding me on the screen. I know some people like tracking their steps, shooting for the 10,000 steps a day. I actually like doing structured cardio sessions. So I'll focus on like the duration and my heart rate and the intensity and stuff like that. And these days I really focus on cardio as like one of my primary forms of exercise. Like I mentioned this several times on the show. Like in recent years, I've gotten more serious into cycling, and I even compete on local, our local cycling races and doing, group rides and sportif rides and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of time on the bike. I mean, that takes the bulk of my training these days, and the weight training for me is 2 to 3 days a week in the gym. Right. So, but when I do the weight training workouts, that's specifically focused on stimulating the muscles. Like I'm not worried about step count or whatever on those weight training days. My main focus is on stimulating the muscles and training in a progressive overload fashion. When I'm doing the cardio, I'm focused on that. That's my primary goal. And they're 2 totally different styles of training. And I would actually recommend, for optimal results, you could alternate them, like 1 day of strength training, 1 day of cardio, 1 day of strength training, 1 day of cardio. And they're different forms of training, and they can actually be complementary when done in this fashion, because while you're doing the strength training, you're not stressing your cardiovascular system, right? And then vice versa, when you're doing cardio, you're not stressing the muscular system, meaning you're not placing as much stress on demands on the muscles, joints, tendons, and ligaments. And they can actually be very complementary to pair them back to back like that. Right, so that's usually what I'll do. But even within those days, I still listen to the body and adjust the intensity accordingly. Right, like some days will be a heavier training session where you're going to push it harder, whether it's strength training or cardio training. And other days are going to be lower intensity days. Like it's kind of like an active recovery day. And it's good to have those built into your routine as well. Generally, for someone who's new to training, this is how I go about it first. Like I'll focus on strength training and then low intensity cardio. So like a total body workout 1 day, and then maybe let's go for a walk, or let's do some lower intensity cardio. For those of you who are tracking like intensity and stuff like that, it would probably be in the zone 1, zone 2 cardio, like that type of thing, where it's something you can sustain for a long duration without burning yourself out. So we're actually treating the cardio as active recovery from the weight training, but it's still allowing you to build your cardiovascular base, burn fat and calories, and improve both sides. Like you're building the strength and conditioning that way, and you're also building your endurance and stamina with the cardio. So that's usually how I recommend it for a lot of people, but they are 2 totally different styles of training for sure. And how you specifically go about prioritizing it is going to depend on you and your goals. Like when I was primarily focused on bodybuilding, it was different, right? I would, and again, depending on where I was in the phase of training, whether it was an off-season phase or a pre-contest phase, it would be different then. Even when I was focused on powerlifting, it would change even more, right? Like obviously, if your main focus is on strength and power, weight training is going to be higher on the priority ranking. If your main focus is on cardiovascular fitness, then the cardio is going to be higher on the priority ranking. But both styles, strength and the cardio, should be part of a well-balanced program. And this is something we're seeing more and more these days. Like even top-level endurance athletes are still incorporating strength training. And top level strength and power athletes are still incorporating cardio and conditioning training because they realize the benefits of both. They can be complementary. All right, who else we got joining in? We've got Brian joining us. Hey, he says, "Hey Lee, checking in, buddy. Thanks for the absolutely awesome advice. You're the best." Well, much appreciated, Brian. And Brian's a member of our Muscle After 40 program, and he's getting some. I've been following along with your progress in the gym, moving some big weights and making some good gains. So again, thanks for joining in. Who else do we have joining us here today? We've got Barely Awake. Do strength gains carry over to better day-to-day physical activities, outdoor work, or emergency situations than size gains? Okay, I think I know what you're saying there. Does strength carry over better than size? Well, we got to look at where's that size coming from. Like if you're big, like let's just say we got someone who's 250 pounds of average 250 pounds, meaning belly sticking out further than your chest, 250 pounds, or you got someone who's 250 pounds and looking like a competitive bodybuilder. There's two totally different categories of size. Like one is lean mass, one is fat mass. So if someone has got a lot of lean mass on their frame, they generally got a lot of strength as well. Like strength and muscle correlate. Generally, a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle and vice versa. And that is definitely going to carry over into improving your overall physical day-to-day real world strength. Now, it depends on the situation. I mean, like you can get down nitpicky with it. Like if you want to look at, like, for example, like an Olympic weightlifter or a power lifter, sometimes they don't have the same mass as like a bodybuilder would, but they could probably be stronger. And a lot of that strength is going to come from just the technical side of mastering the technique for those lifts, the way they're training, the explosiveness and the ability to generate power on command, and just the style of training. Where bodybuilders focus more on time under tension and actually stimulating hypertrophy. And then the strength they gain is like a side effect of the hypertrophy. Whereas strength athletes, they primarily focus on simply getting stronger. And then the muscle they gain is a side effect of the strength. But in both cases, as the muscle gets bigger, it's going to get stronger, right? In both cases. And that is definitely going to carry over into just making you bigger and stronger and more capable in real world activities. And from a practical point of view, like even getting away from like bodybuilding, powerlifting and stuff, and just looking at real world strength, like we're seeing more and more studies done these days, like average people and even seniors who start taking up weight training, and it dramatically improves their quality of life, dramatically improves not only the quality, but their reduces their risk of all-cause mortality. Like when you are stronger and fitter and your body is in shape, you can just tackle the day-to-day challenges so much more. And then if you do have a mishap, like maybe you have a slip and a fall or something like that, it's probably not going to be as detrimental as someone who's out of shape. So yeah, it carries over into real world stuff. And even like just normal things like getting your groceries, mowing your grass, tidying up around the house, shoveling snow, like all these just real world stuff. Like when you're in better shape, those things, those tasks are not as big of a challenge. But if you're out of shape, that can be a big monumental task. I mean, I'm sure we all know people, especially people who are probably seniors, they can no longer go get their groceries anymore. They can no longer go out and cut their grass or shovel their driveway or do their housework, because their body is deteriorated to such a point where they can't even take care of that stuff anymore. Whereas if you're in good shape and you have like a good solid foundation of fitness, those things are just nothing. I mean, what I mean by it's just a normal day-to-day thing. You don't even give it a second thought. Right? So yeah, it definitely carries over, and it's huge. I mean, this is going to dramatically enhance the quality of your life. All right, what else we got there? This is going back to the nutrition topic we were talking about before. Daniel saying wild caught tuna packs are cheap. Why do you think about tuna steaks? Yeah, and this is something like tuna used to be really cheap. Like like canned tuna was like the bodybuilder's budget food for years. But I mean, I don't know about where you live, but where I live, like canned tuna is going up and up. I mean, we used to get it for like less than $1 a can, and now you go to the grocery store and it's like $2 to $3 a can, and that's like the standard price now. So I mean, it's not a cheap source of protein anymore. But I mean, it's convenient, that's for sure. And as far as tuna steaks, I mean, I love a tuna steak, and it tastes totally different than a can of tuna, right? Yeah, I mean, like you get a tuna steak that's cooked properly, seared just right on both sides, and you add some spices and that, and you can make it a delicious meal. And I mean, it's not a staple for me, but I mean, it's something that I do enjoy and will have occasionally. But yeah, I mean, if you can get tuna steaks and get them at a good price and you enjoy it, absolutely, it's a super source of protein because it's very lean and just good high quality protein for sure. Let's see what else. Let's see. You can eat really plain and gross foods and think about it like doing a really hard workout. Well, I don't know if I'd want to eat plain gross foods. Like that doesn't sound appealing. I still want to enjoy good food, but I guess it's all perspective, right? It's all perspective for sure. But one thing, like even with my nutrition, even though I focus primarily on the nutritional value of food, like I want to make sure I'm getting my protein, I want to make sure I'm getting my vegetables and my healthy fats and my complex carbs and stuff like that. I'm not going to eat something that I dislike. Like I'm not going to force down a food because it's good for you if I absolutely think it's disgusting and gross. Like I don't think there's any need of that. Like sometimes I hear people say like, "Oh, I hate fish. I can't stand eating fish." But oh, I got to eat it because right, like my coach says I got to eat fish every day, even though I hate it, and I'm choking it down and feel like I'm going to puke. Like no, I mean like there's so many foods available these days. You can still meet your nutritional needs by finding foods that you enjoy or at least don't hate, right? That are palatable, and then of course the way you prepare the food can totally change it as well, right? But I understand what you're saying there. Like some people, like, hey, no pain, no gain. Suck it up, Buttercup. Get it in you. But you can actually enjoy good quality food and tasty food, and meet your nutritional needs without choking down what you would consider gross and disgusting food. Uh, What's the proper technique to bench press a 200-pound turkey? Right? I've never seen a 200-pound turkey. I've never lifted a 200-pound turkey. So, right, I can't comment on the proper technique for that one. Right? Has anybody had a 200-pound turkey on their table yesterday at Thanksgiving? Right? I would progress gradually with that one. See. Here's another question. What are power cleans good for? Power cleans are basically like a total body explosive exercise. I mean, from a bodybuilding point of view, you'll very rarely see bodybuilders doing power cleans. But from a strength and power point of view, this is where you're going to see power cleans incorporated. Like uh, obviously Olympic lifters are going to incorporate power cleans because that's a foundational exercise to build up for like the clean and jerk, and it's also going to help with the snatch and the overhead lifts. A lot of power lifters might incorporate it as well, even though it's not the same carryover because I mean powerlifting doesn't involve overhead lifting, but it's basically like a total body explosive lift. And if you are going to incorporate power cleans, I would recommend getting a coach, ideally like an Olympic lifting coach or someone who's very experienced with that to teach you because it is a technical lift. Like anytime you're doing explosive movements, it's something you have to learn the technique for. Much more so than the slow and controlled bodybuilding style movements, right? Like this is something you really need proper technique and instruction with. And this is where starting with sub maximal weight and really mastering the form before increasing to challenging weights is very important. And if anybody's ever trained Olympic lifting or studied it at all, a lot of times when they're learning the Olympic lifts, like they don't even start with the empty barbell. Like a lot of times they'll start with like a broomstick or a piece of like PVC pipe or something that's just like super lightweight, just like, you know, a weightless bar, if you will, like again, like a broomstick or a dowel stick or plastic pipe or something, and just learn the mechanics of the exercise, drill that movement pattern in, and then eventually work up to the empty barbell, and then eventually start adding weight and training in a progressive overload fashion. But you have to master the technique because it is very technical, a lot more so than machine exercises and typical bodybuilding style exercises, if you will, where we typically train in a slow and controlled fashion. Right. So this is more advanced. Like if someone's brand new to the gym, just getting started, I would not have them even think about power cleans. Like this is something after you have a foundation built, you can certainly look into that. But where you see that movement being done more is for strength athletes, you know, who want to build explosive strength. Let's see what else we got there. Got Mike saying, hello, Lee. Thank you. You're welcome. Mike, I'm glad to have you joining into our video chat. Skidadoo-da-dee. Have you ever tried Zwift or similar indoor cycling setups for our lovely Atlantic Canadian winters? Yes, I have an account on Zwift and I use it regularly. Um, if you search for Lee Hayward on Zwift, you'll probably be able to find me. If you're a fellow Zwifter, right, you can follow me over there, because Zwift is kind of like a social media / cycling platform. But yeah, I use that a lot, and usually I only use it in the fall winter months. In the summertime, I rarely use it. Like this past summer, I went all like the entire summer. I did not even have my bike set up on the indoor trainer. Didn't do it at all. It was just all outdoor riding. But now that the weather's getting colder, the days are getting shorter, and of course, now that they've put road salt on the roads and stuff, I'm like, I don't want to be taking my road bike out when the roads are salty, because it's just going to destroy the components and stuff. It's not worth it. So, yeah, I got a bike set up on the indoor trainer now, and I'll use Zwift regularly. So it's fun. And the thing I like about Zwift is it makes it more interactive versus just like spinning your wheels on a stationary bike. And for those of you who are not familiar with what Zwift is, it's think of like a video game, but you're the engine. So like think of like a racing game, like if you're into car racing, for example, but this is bike racing, but you're the engine, and it generates, you know, the trainer can tell how much power output you're putting out. And then of course you enter in your weight, and it'll generate, you know, based on your weight to power ratio and stuff, and you can actually race against other people, right? Now you can do races or group rides or solo training sessions. I mean, there's a lot of different variety, but the racing side of it can be quite fun and interactive, because, you know, it has that competitive nature to it, and it's not just you spinning your wheels staring at a clock, right? Like typical cardio. Like I know a lot of people who do cardio in the gym, they're like, oh, I hate, you know, spinning my wheels in the gym, you know, because they're just staring at the clock and the countdown timer, like, oh, this feels boring and whatever. When you're actually playing Zwift, if you will, you're riding on Zwift, it makes it a lot more fun and interactive, and the time goes by a lot quicker. And so yeah, I definitely do it, and I enjoy it. It's one of my fun platforms. I've tried Ruvi, and it's kind of similar, but I don't know, I just prefer Zwift. That's the one that I stuck with. I canceled my Ruvi membership, but I still have my Zwift membership. All right, what else we got? We have Chris Slots. Do you think training full body with 2 sets per body part is good enough when short on time? Yes, something's better than nothing. I mean, if you're short on time, don't even question that. Like something's better than nothing. Like you're much better off getting in there and doing 2 sets per body part than no sets per body part. And this is a big mental block that I had to overcome, especially coming from the bodybuilding background. Like when I was competing in bodybuilding, I had this mindset like, oh, if I don't have 2 hours to go to the gym and work out, then I don't have time to work out. And that's a crock of BS, because okay, sure, you can get in a great workout if you got at least 2 hours to go to the gym, but even if you've got less than an hour, heck, if you got a half an hour, like you can go in there and do something, right? Like something's better than nothing. And this is the way that I operate now. So if I'm pressed for time, heck, I'll go and do a little tiny circuit routine or something. And usually when I am pressed for time, that's what I'll do is I'll do like a circuit where I'm moving quickly from one exercise to the next. So like, okay, I'll do a set of like a horizontal press and then a horizontal row, alternate them in like a superset fashion, overhead press, overhead pull, alternate that. I mean, if I'm working out at home, I might do like just one set of an entire circuit and then repeat it. Or if I'm at the gym and it's not busy, I might do the same thing. If it's busy at the gym, then I might just pair up a couple exercises and superset them back to back, kind of just to get more work volume done in that shorter unit of time. But yeah, a couple sets is still productive, right? You can still get in a great workout like that. Right? And the thing is the more often you do those little mini workouts, that's going to maintain your fitness so that when you have time for the bigger workouts, you're in better shape for them. Whereas if you only wait for the bigger workouts and you're not able to train as frequently or as consistently, then your fitness will actually decline in between. So like a lot of this is a big one for a lot of people. They say like I'm on and off with their workouts. Like they might work out consistently for a few weeks and then they get busy and then they take a few weeks off and then they go back again for a few weeks and a few weeks on, a few weeks off. If you're on and off like that, you're not going to make any progress because whatever gains you make while you're on, you're going to lose again while you're off. But if you can schedule in these little mini workouts, so when you're extra busy and you'd normally say, oh, screw it, I'm not even going to bother, or I'll wait till I have more time. But you go in there and just do a little mini workout, even if it's like 20 minutes or a half hour or something like that. That's enough to maintain your fitness or maybe even make slow gains so that when you do have more time to train, you're not starting from base again. You're actually maintaining your fitness and continuing to progress. Right. So these little mini workouts, this is the key to long-term consistency and long-term progress. And if you compare someone who's like on off versus someone who's consistently good enough and good enough consistently, this will be a game changer. Like over the course of a prolonged period of time, like a year, 3 years, 5 years, you will see someone who's good enough and good enough consistently will be leaps and bounds ahead of the person who's on off. Like the on off person is just basically going to be stuck in a rut, spinning their wheels, going nowhere. Where someone who's consistently good enough, they're actually going to be making progress year after year after year. So yeah, absolutely. Like that's one of the biggest game changers or mindset shifts that you can make is just to give yourself permission to do those short workouts when needed. And we're all going to find ourselves in that position from time to time. Right? Like, I haven't met anybody yet who just like, oh, I have all the time in the world to train. I have nothing on my schedule. I wake up and I have all day to just eat, sleep, train, repeat. Like, I mean, if you're a professional athlete, okay, maybe. But if you're a normal person, got a full-time job, a family, and other responsibilities on your plate, yeah, time is of the essence, right? So you have to make the best use of your time. See what else we got there. Jay Cutler said he purposely didn't do any cleaning motions like power cleans. And I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I have to say, like, I've met Jay before, and I've seen a lot of his training videos and stuff like that. Like, Jay was actually a guest poser for our local bodybuilding shows right after he won the Mr. Olympia. So in 2006 and 2007, he was our guest poser at the Newfoundland bodybuilding championships. And so I've met him twice in person when he'd guest pose for us. And, obviously I've seen a lot of these videos and stuff, and I have to agree. I've never once seen him do a power clean ever. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's a bodybuilder. He's not a power lifter. He's not a strength athlete, right? Like, obviously he's strong, but the strength that he built is a side effect of the hypertrophy that he built as a bodybuilder. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because I know someone was asking about power cleans earlier. It's generally an exercise designed for strength athletes and people who want to build that explosive strength. If you're just focusing on bodybuilding in its pure form, you don't need it. Now, not saying that it wouldn't help, but it's certainly not a must do, obviously. Another question coming through here. Say you work out an hour a day. How do you feel about a 30-minute workout in the morning and another 30-minute in the evening? So basically a split routine or a double split where you're training morning and evening. Absolutely, you can make that work. I know several of my coaching students who do that, break up their workouts with an AM and a PM workout. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you have to look at what works best for you and your schedule, and what do you enjoy doing. Like, some people just like to go in there, do it all in one shot and get it over with so that they can get on with the rest of their day. Other people like to break it up, have a little short workout in the morning and another one in the evening. When I was getting ready for bodybuilding shows, what I would often do is break it up like this, but I would do, like, say, cardio in the morning and then weight training in the afternoon, or sometimes vice versa. But I would break it up that way. So one workout would be a cardio session, the next one would be a strength training session. But I know some of my coaching students who like to break up those body parts like that. And if you're doing different muscle groups, right, you might break it up that way. Like, let's just say you wanted to train chest and back in the same day. Maybe, okay, your first workout is going to be the chest workout. Second workout would be the back workout, right? Like, I know it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's what do you enjoy and what fits you and your schedule, right? And this is something that you can cycle through. I mean, if you're curious about it and you want to try it out, do it. Hey, say for the next month, give it a shot. Try splitting it up into a double split routine where you do an AM and a PM workout. See how it works for you, your schedule, and how you feel your body responds to it. If you enjoy it, keep doing it. And if you don't, and you say, you know what, I think I'd rather just one bigger workout, get it all over with, one shot, do that, right? One thing I will say, if you are going to be doing multiple workouts, like, 2-a-days or whatever, it's really good if you live close to the gym or if you have a home gym, right? Because just from the convenience factor, like, if you've got to drive, say, like 20 minutes or whatever to get to the gym each way, and you're going in for a half-hour workout, it's not practical then, especially if your commute back and forth to the gym is actually longer than the workout itself. Unless, again, you have lots of time on your hands, it's probably not the best use of your time, right? So where I find these short workouts is if you live really close to the gym and it's only like a couple minutes to get there, or if you have a home gym, or maybe you have a gym like in your apartment building. Like, I know some of my coaching students, they live in an apartment building and they actually have a gym in the apartment building, right? Which is awesome, because it's kind of like the best of both worlds, because it's usually better than what you would typically have for a home gym, but it's the convenience because it's right there. It's in the same building. Like, you just walk there, right? So that's a good option. So that's the only consideration I would have. If I was going to break it up like that, I would want it very quick and convenient to get to the gym, right? What I often do now sometimes is I will do maybe one workout at the gym, and then if I'm going to do an extra workout, I'll do that at home in my home gym, right? So if you have a home gym available and a gym membership, you can kind of break it up that way as well. But convenience is going to be the issue, especially if you're doing 2 workouts a day. How do you make that as quick and convenient as possible so that you can actually do it and do it consistently? What are your thoughts on supersets, chest and back Arnold style? I love it. I do a lot of supersets, or what I refer to it as an alternate set, and it's just kind of like a technical difference, if you will. Like, if you're looking up the technical definition of a superset, it's 2 exercises done back to back with no rest in between. So in this case, like, you do a set of bench presses and then immediately run over and do a set of rows. That would be a superset. What I refer to as an alternate set is when you take a full rest break in between, but you're alternating one for one. So I'll do a set of bench presses, take my rest break, do a set of rows, take my rest break, go back and do a set of bench presses, rest, and then alternate them back to back. Whereas the traditional superset, based on Joe Weider's Weider Principles guideline, if you look at the definition, right, of supersets, it's 2 exercises done back to back with no rest in between. And I'm usually not a big fan of that, because by the time you get to the second exercise, you're not just getting into muscular fatigue, but you're getting into like cardiovascular fatigue as well, because you're running out of breath. Like, you're getting fatigued, and it's not necessarily due to the true muscle fatigue. It's just the work volume and the cardiovascular load and everything else, like you're getting out of breath, right? You're hitting fatigue that way. So I like to take a full rest break so that you can exert maximum muscular effort into the set. And I feel that would be more productive. But yeah, I love doing alternate sets like that. So, and usually I do an agonist and antagonist muscle groups. So chest and back, biceps and triceps, quads and hams, abs and lower back, stuff like that. Like, yeah, you can work them back to back like that. And I incorporate that a lot into my workouts. Let's see. Lee, you look like him in the wheelchair out of Scary Movie 2, the muscular version. Haha. I don't know who who him is, but I'll take it as a compliment, I guess. I don't know. Moving on. Right? I'm going to have to look up whatever that is. I'll have to look up that movie on Google Images afterwards, right? Yeah. So there we go. Is there any other questions coming through? I think that's all the questions that came through there in the video chat. And if that's the case, that's totally cool with me because I can get ready to clue this up. And again, just want to give you a heads up for those of you who are interested. We do have the Black Friday promo going on right now for the Fat Loss Accelerator program. And this is something that I've never done before, but this is a phase out of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program where we prioritize more aggressive fat loss, right? So how it's going to work is through the month of December, we're going to lay a solid foundation with phase 1, the metabolic reboot. And then kicking off January, we're going to jump right into the fat loss accelerator phase for those of you who want to prioritize fat loss in the new year. And this is something that we have going on right now. And if you're interested in checking it out, you can just send me an email or a message with the words Black Friday, and I'll send you all the details about it. Or you can just head on over to my Facebook page and check out the first posts there on my profile where I got more information about it. But this is something where you can basically jump right into the coaching program at a fraction of the cost of the regular coaching program, because we're just jumping into the fat loss accelerator phase. And then for the month of December, we have free coaching for the month of December. So you can sign up now, get free coaching, and then your official fat loss accelerator will start on the first Monday of January, where we can kick off the new year on the right track without having yourself set back, because we're going to focus on the metabolic reboot throughout the month of December. Either minimize the damage, or even make some slow progress throughout the month of December so that when January rolls around, you're not set back, several pounds heavier like a lot of people will be. You'll actually be a few pounds leaner and on the right track to kick off the new year, and get in your best shape and prioritize fat loss moving forward. So again, if that's something you're interested in, you can certainly reach out to me. And again, there's no pressure on that. I'm just making that offer out there because it's something that I usually do have a promotion every year for Black Friday, but this is something that we've never done before. And if you're interested in checking it out, you can certainly do so. Okay, one more question coming through there. Do you think straps are good for muscular gains or a bad habit? It's just another tool in the toolbox. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's how they are used, right? And what he refers to, for those of you who are wondering what he means by straps, it's lifting straps to help reinforce your grip, right? So usually you put them on for like rows or deadlifts or something like that, where your grip is going to be a limiting factor. They can certainly help. Now, they can also be a pro and a con, because sometimes you can overuse straps and it can actually make your grip weaker and get to the point where you're actually dependent on the straps. I had that happen to me because when I was younger, I did all my training without straps, right? Until I found out about straps after several years of training. And I said, wow, like this is awesome. Now I can hold on to heavier weights when I'm doing deadlifts and rows and shrugs and all that. This is awesome. And then I was using them for all my rowing and pulling exercises. And then I got into that rut where I just by default, I never even second guessed it. I just automatically, put on the straps every time I was doing any rowing or pulling exercises. I'd use straps, and sure, it helped to maximize growth in the back and the pulling muscles, but my grip didn't progress to the same degree. And then when I decided I wanted to get involved with powerlifting, right? And in powerlifting, you can't wear straps. You have to use your raw grip. I was like, oh, I can't even hold on to like I can deadlift a lot more weight than I can hold on to, right? Like I could deadlift way more with the straps, but when I took the straps off, so I had to refocus on building up my grip strength. So, what I would recommend for anyone who wants to use straps is save it for when you really need it. Maybe a top heavy working set or something like that. But like all your progressively heavier warm up sets or sub maximal lifts, if you can support the weight without the straps, do it, right? Like build up your natural grip strength. And then, of course, I'll obviously still prioritize regular grip training in your workouts as well. But then if you get to the point where the grip is a limiting factor, like maybe a heavy set of deadlifts or a heavy set of shrugs or something along those lines, it's okay to use the straps then because it'll help you to ensure that you're maximizing muscle stimulation and getting the time under tension without your grip being the weak link. But you don't want to overuse it. So again, it's a tool in the toolbox, and that tool can be used for good or bad depending on the intention behind it. Right? If you're always using the strap, then it's probably going to make your forearms and your grip weaker. But if you just use it when you need it, it can actually help to take your workouts to the next level. And this is an advanced tool. Like this, for someone who's still within their first year of training, no, don't even bother with straps. But if you're more advanced, like you got several years of training under your belt, and you're at the point now where your grip is a limiting factor in some exercises, then you can certainly use straps. One that I would actually recommend before anybody gets into straps, like when I'm coaching people one on one, the first thing we'll use is chalk. Lifting chalk makes a huge difference. If you've never lifted with chalk before, that can make a massive difference because what chalk does is first it dries up the sweat that's on your hand and it increases friction between your skin and the barbell. So if you're finding like your fingers are peeling open when you're doing deadlifts or rows, like you're losing your grip, it could be because of sweaty palms. That's a big issue, but it could also just be friction. Like sometimes if your hands are not sticking and gripping the barbell good, chalk can make a huge difference. So I would start with chalk first, and then if you need something beyond the chalk, then I would add the straps in after. Right, but I would do it in that order. Right, just a raw grip. If that's not good enough, add the chalk, and then if the chalk's not good enough, add the straps. Right, do it in that way, and just think of it that way as a tool in the toolbox. All right. And Eric saying, I quit using them, but I'm thinking about starting again. I see powerlifters setting records with them, and I think it's cheating. You know, it's not cheating. I mean, it is a tool, but you have to realize, obviously, someone's going to be able to lift more with a lifting strap than they would without it. And just the same as, all types of equipment. Like if someone was going to be able to squat more with knee wraps and a belt than without knee wraps and a belt. And then someone's going to be able to squat even more if they have knee wraps, belt, and a squat suit than without the squat suit. So, there's just different levels. Again, it's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just different levels. And it all depends on what you're training for. And honestly, if you're not competing in an event, like if you're competing in a powerlifting federation that doesn't allow you to lift with straps, then obviously don't lift with straps, right? Abide by the rules of whatever it is that you're competing in. I know people say, "Oh, this is cheating or that's cheating." Well, cheating depends on the rules, right? And in some strongman competitions and stuff like that, it's totally acceptable to use straps for deadlifts and for certain exercises, right? Even some deadlift competitions, if they have that as part of the rule, like okay, straps are allowed, then that's fine, right? I know one of the most popular deadlift videos ever, I think, was when Eddie Hall deadlifted 500 kilos. I mean, he was using straps. I mean, you could say that's cheating or not, but hey, most people are never ever going to move 500 kilos, straps or no straps, suit or no suit, regardless of what they use, right? Unless they're using a forklift or something, they're not going to move that kind of weight. So, I mean, I don't think it's cheating. It's just doing what needs to be done to maximize the lift. All right. One more question here. This is from Daniel, can I do full body workouts and get all I want out of one set on an exercise like Dorian Yates, but not needing to be that intense? You could certainly make progress, and I guess all that you want. What do you want? Right? We have to ask that. That's the question. I mean, if you just want general fitness and to be in better shape than the average person, yeah, I mean, hey, one set per exercise is better than no sets per exercise. I mean, the average person's not going to the gym. The average person's not doing any exercise at all. So, heck, going to the gym on a regular basis and doing one set per exercise, that puts you way above average, right? So, if that's all you want, then great. Now, if your goal is to maximize your muscle development, whether it's for bodybuilding, powerlifting, or athletics, or based on your profile picture for martial arts, I guess, you're probably going to need more than just one set, right? To maximize uh, the muscular development and to build the skill of strength. One thing that a lot of people don't factor in, it's not just how hard you're working the muscle in that set, but it's building the skill of strength. And this is something that I learned from Pavel Tetsuli, I guess the guy who made kettlebell training very popular in America, right? Uh, and a lot of powerlifting and Olympic lifting and a lot of old school strength sports were based upon the idea of doing multiple sets of an exercise to build the skill of strength, not just trying to see how hard you can, annihilate yourself in a single set, but literally doing multiple sets with submaximal weight, stopping short of failure so that you're building the technique, building the skill, getting in that repetition. And we see this in every other sport and activity out there. Like, let's just say you want to be, you're doing archery. Are you just going to take one shot and say, okay, I did one shot at the board, I'm good, right? Just one shot to failure. No, you're going to have shot after shot after shot. You're going to build in that repetition, build in the skill of archery, and get better through repetition. Right. The same with anything, like every sport or activity. Like if you're throwing a football or a basketball or swinging a baseball bat, like you're not just going to do one rep, one set, one whatever, and then call it a day. You're going to do it over and over and over again and build in the skill. And strength is a skill. A lot of people don't factor that in there, but it's very technical, especially when you're getting into mastering the lifts. And someone who has years of repetitions under their belt is going to be much more of a technical and skilled lifter than someone who doesn't. So you have to factor that in there. And you're never going to build the skill of strength by just doing a single set of an exercise. You want to get in multiple sets so that you can refine that movement pattern and build the skill of strength. And that's something that this whole one set to failure doesn't really do. I mean, sure, it's hard, sure, it's intense, and you can place a lot of damage on the muscle or even injure the muscle, but you're not really getting the skill based, that technical side of the training in place. So personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, if someone's just getting started or whatever, yeah, okay, maybe we could start off with a very low volume like that. But as you advance, I like to incorporate at least a few sets per exercise, so you're getting in some more time under tension and building in that skill, right? And then as people get more advanced, sometimes we'll even do multiple sets. Like one of my coaching students that I'm working with now, we're following like a powerlifting protocol, and like for squats, for example, like we really want to build the skill of doing squats. So we're doing 10 sets of 2 with the squat, just multiple sets, building in that technique and refining the movement. And not only is he getting stronger, but his technical ability with doing the squats is improving dramatically, right? So again, this is something that a lot of people don't focus on, but it's a very important part of strength training is the skill of strength. All right, this is great evening, great content here. I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on traditional weightlifting combined with cardio versus CrossFit? They all have their point, their purpose. I mean, and all can be productive. I mean, generally speaking, for most of my coaching students, I recommend weightlifting and cardio training. But CrossFit, It does have its place, and I like the theory of CrossFit. Like the idea of combining different styles of exercise, getting in the strength and the conditioning. I like the theory. I just don't like the way that it's performed in a lot of CrossFit gyms, or the way that a lot of people perform it, with the idea of doing as many repetitions as possible and even letting your form go to crap just for the sake of lifting more weight or getting more reps or completing the workout in a shorter unit of time, right? Because that style of competition, again, you could argue pros and cons about it. I mean, obviously, you go to a CrossFit box and they'll argue the pros, but I'm looking at it from like a non-biased opinion. Like, I love the style of CrossFit and the variety of exercise and the different types of stimulation. Like, I think that's fantastic. But when people train to the point where their form breaks down, and, either because they're lifting too much, they're trying to do too many repetitions, or they're trying to do a unit of work in too short of a time, and your form breaks down because of that, that's what I'm not a fan of. I would much rather see someone do a better quality workout, even if it takes them longer, even if they have to lift a little bit lighter. Like, focus on the quality of those movements and those exercises, just versus the quantity. And that's what I find happens in a lot of CrossFit style workouts, is people are just trying to jam in more work in a shorter unit of time. And this often leads to injuries, because when your form gets crappy and you're fatigued, that's when shit goes wrong. And most people that I know who are serious into CrossFit, they've got the injuries to show for it. They're like, oh yeah, I was doing this program and I was doing the whatever WOD of the day was and this and that, and oh, I threw out my shoulder, or I threw out my back, or something got something went snap, crackle, and pop, right? Because they were pushing themselves beyond their mean, and very often using crappy form to do it, and that's when most injuries happen. But if you can kind of like keep it below a red line, lift within your means, lift with proper form, and not just trying to rush and get as much crap done in a given unit of time, focus on the quality, not the quantity, I think you can have a much better and more productive workout. So you could still follow a CrossFit style program. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the style of program. It's just how it's performed, right? That's what I have a beef with, right? I mean, like, as far as training in a CrossFit style gym and doing that style of workout and everything else, yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, sometimes I'll even set up a circuit myself and do that style of training, but I'm not either lifting beyond my means, and I'm not rushing it to the point where my form breaks down, right? I focus on the quality over the quantity. Okay. This is a follow up to the question we had there about the one set. After I'm warmed up, one set so I can get in intense on as many exercises for the full body. One thing I want you to let go of with full body, like, even though you're doing a full body workout, it doesn't mean you have to do every exercise or hit every single muscle group in that full body workout. Like, you can vary your exercises. And this is something that I do with my coaching students and even with my own workouts. Like, depending on my schedule and how much time I have available to train, I might do 6 to 8 exercises in a session. Now, those 6 to 8 exercises are going to cover most of my major muscle groups. And then the next time I train, I might choose some different exercises that prioritize other muscle groups. So you're still like hitting basically everything. Like, you're still hitting upper and lower, push and pull. Like, you're hitting all the major movement patterns, but you can vary it up. And then when it comes to some of the isolation and smaller muscle groups, you can vary that up. I shared this at the beginning as well. Like, I usually do like a horizontal push, horizontal pull, overhead pull, some sort of squat or leg press or hip hinge. And then the other movements could be like wild cards. Like, I'm not going to train calves every single workout, or I'm not going to train biceps every single workout, or I'm not going to train whatever. Like, those I might only do once a week, right? But then you can vary those. But like, try to get your big major movement patterns in, right? Your big lifts in to cover the total body aspect. But then if you're getting into some of the other things, maybe you're not going to hit that every single day, and you're going to cycle through those exercises, right? So you can focus on better quality with fewer movements versus just trying to touch on a lot. Like one set for 15 exercises. I'd much rather work 6 exercises and get a really good session with those 6 exercises, and then vary it up and then do some different exercises the next time I do a total body workout, right? So you can change it up that way versus spreading yourself too thin, right? That's generally how I go about it. Now, with that being said, something's better than nothing. So like, hey, if you're going in there and you're getting 1 set per exercise, that's still better than the person who's not going to the gym at all, right? So I don't want you to think like this is a bad approach or whatever, because it can still be very productive. But I think you could probably get more productivity if you get more sets and building the skill of strength, as I mentioned before, right? Getting some more quality work in there and not just spreading yourself too thin. Okay. All right, folks, I'm going to get ready and clue this up. All right, because it is past the hour. I usually schedule an hour for these video chats. We're already gone over it. So I'm going to get ready and clue it up. But if there's anything like you want to elaborate on, like any of the questions, if you want to elaborate on them, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me or private message me, and I'd be more than happy to chat about it. And then, of course, if you would like some help with a customized training and nutrition program, or you would like to take advantage of that Black Friday promo and the Fat Loss Accelerator program that we have going on right now, again, just send me a message or an email, and I'd be more than happy to share the details with you, and we can follow up through there. All right, so have yourself a great one. Have yourself a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next Friday, same time, same place on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding channel. Take care. Have yourself a good one. Over and out.